Welcome, guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel! Yeah! And today we are going to be reacting to 5 disturbing true school lockdown horror stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yeah! Been a while since we've watched one of these videos, so I'm really excited. Uh, I just want to apologize for disappearing for like 10 days. Probably don't need to apologize, but I will apologize because that's like ghosting everyone. I just want to let people know that I've just been busy and, just stuff like that. And yeah, a lot going on. I haven't even been on Facebook or Instagram or like, I'm just all over the place. So yeah, good to be back and I'm better than ever. So yeah, can't wait. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notifications, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, let's jump right onto it, shall we? Yeah. Well, here we are. So can't wait. I think I got this up high. Yeah. Alexa, turn smart light to white.
Okay.
There we go. It's more scary in the dark, but my camera can't see things. So here we go. Let's jump right onto it.
Immediately go to the nearest room and lock and barricade the door. Stay low and stay quiet.
Anonymous. Haven't watched these ones in a
I
while.
went to a somewhat typical high school.
Because he's done like maybe 5 different school ones. I can't remember, but he hasn't done one for nearly a year, I think. Yeah. Anyway.
Not in a traditional American suburb, but a more rural set high school. Some kids go to schools with graduating classes of like 500 to hell, even 1,000 kids. My high school had, I think, a little less than 200 kids in my graduating class. It was the kind of high school where even if you weren't friends with someone, you still knew them by face and name. Walking down the hallways, you'd know basically 99% of your peers, at least in your own graduating class. Coming from a quiet town, there weren't a lot of crazy news stories, really. It was pretty uneventful there. What we did for fun after school was actually go out and play sports and ride our bikes around and stuff like that. This was like 17 years ago, though, so I guess things may be a lot different these days for kids. Another thing I always felt that was unique about our school was that there didn't really seem to be any bullying for the most part. Like, at least not the typical cliche movie style bullying, where kids are getting pushed into lockers or having their lunch money stolen. When I think back now, I can't really name a single kid from my graduating class who could be labeled as a bully.
Wow. That's pretty cool. We had bullies in our school, so damn. That's pretty cool. That you didn't have bullies. It's not good having bullies. Bullies are shit. I've been bullied, once, but someone chucked me down the stairs one time, threw me down the stairs. I think I was in in year grade 6 or year 5, whatever you call it in America. I was about 11 years old, so yeah. But yeah, other than that, no, I have not been bullied. It was like one time.
Sure, there were kids who just tease others, but nothing too serious. Of course, there were quiet kids in our grade, like every school has, but there was one kid in my grade who literally never spoke at all. I'm gonna just name him Luke for this story. He wasn't even a weird looking kid or anything. He seemed pretty nice to people who went out of their way to interact with him. I shared one class with him, though. It was an elective that had kids from all 4 grades in it. Luke and I were juniors when this happened. This elective was a computer class, and back when this happened, the computer rooms in our high school were still rocking those big, bulky box computers.
Oh, I remember them back in my
Remember the
day.
layout of this classroom? There was the aisle in the middle separating 2 columns of tables, and the 2 columns had 4 rows each. Each row had 4 seats, and each student had their own computer. This class wasn't full, so there were probably like 26 filled seats out of 32. Luke always sat in the second row in the furthest seat to the left with no one next to him, as everyone else sat with people they knew from their respective grades. Unfortunately, not long into the semester, the seniors in the class started collectively picking on Luke. By this, I mean some of the seniors would make jokes about how quiet Luke was, that it was scary when the teacher would ask certain things. For whatever reason, our teacher never stood up for Luke and told them to cut it out. The teacher was a bit of a pushover from what I remember. Maybe that was why. As the semester went on, it got a little worse. I remember at one point seeing a small piece of paper fly from the back row from the seniors right to the back of Luke's head. I remember he turned around and had this very telling look. The seniors continued to make fun, one of them saying, "Wasn't me," and blaming one of the other seniors. The look on Luke's face just looked like a mix of sadness, anger, and just defeatedness. I genuinely felt bad, but I didn't get involved. Eventually, one day I saw Luke sitting on a curb not far from the high school after school ended one day. I passed by him as I was walking to my car. I have an early birthday, so I was driving around halfway through junior year. Given we were in a quiet area, no one was exactly walking distance from school. So I did the right thing and said, "What's up?" and asked if he needed a ride home. His face literally lit up a bit as he said yes. We walked to my car, and from there on, he guided me to his house. It was about a 10-minute drive to his house. We talked a lot during that car ride.
Wow,
I told
this
him
is
he
the
should.
first thing he said. That's crazy. That's crazy. He hasn't spoken one word. That was literally me in high school. I feel like it was me more with students more than it was with teachers. I was a little bit more talkative with the teachers. I was a weird kid. And like we would just like I would just like play with dirt on the ground. That's literally me in high school. Like now I have lots of friends that I hang out with and talk to and go to karaoke. And one of my best friends, I think, she's been in a video in here. Um, Bronwyn. She, I met her through like theatre sports and like it's good to meet new people. So I really like meeting new people. So yeah, it's just interesting. The story's reminding me a little bit what I used to be like as a because I had a really tough like childhood growing up, so yeah. Poor Luke.
Just ignore the seniors in our computer class. I said they're a bunch of deadbeats anyway. He said they're not the only ones that he's sick of. He implied that he deals with people picking on him in multiple classes, which honestly made me feel pretty terrible for him. In those 10 minutes, I felt like I learned a lot about Luke and got to know him as a person just a bit, and he seemed like a decent kid. As I dropped him off, I made a comment to him about how close we lived, and then we said goodbye. Every day in
Why
class,
would you
I would
say
say, "Hey,
I'm sorry, but why would you say how close we lived? You haven't even like fully introduced each other to each other, Oh hell no. You don't know what this person's capable of.
each other." But admittedly, I unfortunately never got involved whenever he got picked on. Well, one day, Luke didn't show up to class. Computer class was fourth period. It wasn't until seventh period English that an announcement came over the loudspeaker saying, "Lockdown, this is not a drill." I remember everyone looking around nervously, and I remember our teacher looking the most nervous. She ran to turn off the
Is
lights and told
Luke gonna
everyone to
shoot the
hurry to one
school?
corner of the room. Seeing how nervous our teacher was only made all the students even more nervous. We sat with the lights off for a long time. It had to be 20 to 30 minutes until there was another message on the loudspeaker. It was the principal, explaining that there was someone in a mask carrying a black duffel bag trying to get into the school. Our school had really good security, and when someone spotted that person approaching the school with what could only be assumed to be guns or any kind of weapons in that duffel bag, the doors were all locked. The school day was cut short after that once a few police cars were on the scene. I remember it being a Friday, so I took a few of my friends home to my house so we could hang out. I'd be lying if I said I remember the small details thereafter of that day, but I think it was that same night that I woke up in the middle of the night to light tapping at my window, and I could see someone on the other side of the glass. I started
Oh, I
thinking
hate
forward.
that music. I've never seen Mr. Nightmare done that before. The ding! I don't even know how he did that. Did you hear that? The way Mr.
I
Nightmare
woke up
did
in the
that?
middle of the night to light tapping at my window,
Listen.
and I could see someone on the other side of the glass. I started freaking
Oh,
out.
hell nah! Mr. Nightmare, you and your sound effects. Hell nah! Nope. Nope. Not today. Not today. Not ever.
And before running to get my dad, I took a closer look and then said, "Who is it?" I heard Luke's voice as he said his name. I felt like my heart dropped a second time. I went over to the window and lifted it just a crack. I said, "What are you doing? How did you find me?" And he said through the window, "I tried to do something bad." And it instantly clicked. I mean it. It instantly clicked in my head, and it was him. Before he could even tell me, I said, "Was it you who caused the lockdown?" And he said, "Yes." I was scared to ask him what he was planning on doing. Instead, I asked him how he found me. He admitted to remembering the deli that I said I lived by, and he eventually found my car after biking around the area. That explanation didn't make it any less disturbing. Luke asked me if he could come in and talk about what he planned on doing, and I said, "No, I cannot let him in, nor can I hear what he planned on doing." I actually recommended he go to the school and confess to whatever he was going to do, and when he refused to walk away from my window, I said "Dad" really loudly, which worked in scaring him off. I went to my parents' room and woke them up to tell them. My mom was the one who insisted on calling the police. She was distraught. When a police officer eventually came, I had no choice but to tell the truth. I gave Luke's identity, and I explained that he had just come to my window admitting to potentially almost doing something horrible at the school. Obviously, the police were already aware of the lockdown, so I believe police were sent to his house that night, but after speaking with Luke's parents, they realized Luke wasn't there. I believe it was the next day that Luke was either found or he just returned home and police were still waiting there, and he confessed to what he told me. As far as our graduating class knew, Luke was charged with something like making a terroristic threat. I know he did time, and I know he's been out a long time. To be honest, I don't really know if he's still around. Part of me always wanted to feel bad for Luke, witnessing how loneliness and getting picked on can probably eat away at someone. He followed me and came to me simply because I showed him an act of kindness, something I unfortunately believe nobody else showed him. Still, the fact that he admitted to bringing a gun to school with a mask on, even if he didn't admit to intending on carrying out the implied threat, I can't fully believe he simply came to the school with a gun just to scare people. I think he for a split second had a horrible plan and got cold feet and regretted it. I just hope Luke eventually got the help he needed.
No. That one was about. I could go a 9, only because he knows where you live now. That's kind of disturbing. But probably like an 8.5. It's quite disturbing. It kind of reminded me of that thing that happened in Colombia in 1999. Those two students that just shot everyone. That was really sad. It was really, really sad. Remember that. I think it was Colombia. Someone in the comment section is gonna be like, "No, it wasn't. It was this." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I've got ADHD. I know it was in 1999. Okay. But anyway, yeah, yee, disturbing. Yikes. Anyway, that was an 8.5. Him knowing where you live was like a 9, because you don't know what he's capable of doing. Luckily, maybe you've moved out and you've moved into another home, but I hope your parents moved out too. Just saying. I do feel bad for Luke though, because that sounds really sad, like how he got bullied and that. He didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that. No one deserves that, really. 8.5 out of 10.
This happened in 2016, back when I was in fifth
Why is there a bloody clown? What the hell? Is this gonna be a clown story? Yikes.
grade. If you remember that year, you probably remember all the killer clown sightings that were happening around the country.
Yes.
At the time, it was all over the
I mean, I
news and
wasn't
social
there
media.
because it's in America.
Most adults thought it was just some dumb trend or prank, but for young kids, it was actually pretty scary. It was a normal day at school. I went to an elementary school in a quiet suburban area where I still live. Nothing weird ever really
So
happens
you
here.
must be like, what? How old are you? Like only just 18? 20, 26. Yeah, you'd be about 18, 20, something. Yikes. Just a
It
baby.
was around 1 p.m., I'm guessing, because it was closer to the end of the school day. We were in class working on some random assignment. The classroom was quiet, except for a few people whispering. Then, one of the students in my class suddenly said out loud, "There's a clown outside." I suddenly
Hell
thought of her
no.
high-pitched voice as she said it. Some of us stood up and looked toward the window. And yeah, there really was a clown outside. He was standing just a few feet away from the...
Mr. Nightmare and his jump scares. That was more like a startle. I didn't really like get scared, but it was more like a really massive startle. Like I didn't expect a clown to pop up because he already showed a clown, so I didn't expect him to pop up another clown. And he already had that not jump scare, but that creepy ass music in the first story. Yikes! What's that behind it? What the hell is behind that? It's like a non-human being. There's like something else at that window. It's like there's a head over here. Ugh, wouldn't want that staring at my window. Yikes. Mr. Nightmare's jump scares, man. Telling you.
window facing our classroom directly. He was wearing a baggy, dirty red and yellow clown suit and had white face paint with black around the eyes. He was smiling and staring in at us with this big fake grin. After a few seconds, he started waving slowly. Some of the kids thought it was funny and laughed. Others were clearly freaked out. Our teacher, Mrs. Riker, walked over to the window, looked at the guy for a second, and then said through the glass, loud and annoyed, "Excuse me, classes are in session. You need to get out of here." The clown didn't react at all. He just kept standing there, smiling and waving. Mrs. Riker told us all to sit back down and said she was calling the front office. She picked up the corded classroom phone and then walked into the hallway with it and spoke quietly. The phones in the classrooms were always next to the door, so that's how she was able to walk outside the room with it. She came back in moments later and then hung up. She walked over to the window and shut all the blinds after she saw that the man in the clown costume was still there, doing the same creepy waving motion, smiling, and general clownish mannerisms. Not even 2 minutes later, the principal's voice came over the loudspeaker. "Staff, please get your classrooms into lockdown formation." There was a sense of urgency in the voice that, looking back, was probably to alert the teachers that it wasn't a drill without causing all the kids to go into a panic. That's when it got serious. Mrs. Riker rushed to turn off the lights and told us all to get under our desks. She pulled the door shut and locked it. Everyone was quiet.
I would have freaked out. I mean, I'm scared of clowns to an extent, but like, if they're like, I don't know, like, I hate Ronald McDonald clown. I know that it clown's already scary, so it doesn't scare me. But I hate other clowns. Like that would disturb me. Like that clown came up to my window and stared and started waving, going like, "Nah, nah, I'll be sending a match. Come into my house. Come on, come in, come into my house." And I'd burn the house down with it. Yeah, hell no. I ain't having no clown at my house. I just can't imagine. I just I couldn't articulate the fact that there's a clowns there. Oh, can you imagine like a little child, a 5-year-old kid? I can just imagine a 5-year-old, like a 3 to 5-year-old, just staring at a window and a clown just going. If that was me, if that I was a 3 to 5-year-old kid, and I saw a clown waving at me through my window, I would have a heart attack. I would get so scared, I would be screaming the hell out, yelling to mum and dad to save me. That would be trauma. That would be trauma. I'd have PTSD from that. Just from that specific event. Nah, nah. Not happening.
Some kids were giggling, but others looked scared. I was definitely scared. We stayed like that for what felt like forever, but it was actually about 30 minutes. Nobody knew what was happening, but eventually, the principal came back on the loudspeaker and said the lockdown was over and that the situation had been handled. Apparently, school security
Neutralize.
had confirmed that
Just
the clown was gone. They didn't tell us anything else. Classes went on like normal for the rest of the day. It felt weird. Everyone was talking about it during dismissal, but the teachers didn't say much. Then, after school, I was walking home with my friend Chris.
Oh,
We lived
hell
in the
no.
same
They're
neighborhood
gonna
just a
see the
few
clown
blocks
again,
away.
aren't they?
While we were walking, a couple of fifth grade girls behind us suddenly ran past us, looking panicked. One of them said, "There's someone in the woods." We stopped and turned around. Behind the school, there's a small patch of trees. It's not deep woods or anything, just enough to separate the school from the street behind it. And standing just barely out of view, near the edge of the woods, was the clown again. Same dirty outfit, same painted face. He was half hidden by the trees, but he was clearly waving, and he wasn't just waving at random. He was doing it slowly, directly at the girls who had just passed us, like he was trying to call them over. Chris and I didn't say anything. We just ran. I don't know what happened after that, but I told my parents as soon as I got home. They called the school, and later I heard from another kid that the police were called again and patrolled the area, but they never found anyone. To this day, nobody knows who that guy was. And I don't know if he was just trying to scare some kids or if he were planning something worse. But what freaks me out the most is that he came back after the lockdown and he waited, hidden in the trees, watching kids go home.
Yeah, that's very disturbing. Um, Probably like an 8.5, 9. I'd probably go the same as what the other one was. Um, Maybe a 9 because the clown is very disturbing. I'll give the other story an 8.5. This one was about 9. Because you don't know what that clown is capable of. You don't know what its intentions are. Yeah, like I said, if I finished school and I walked to home, not that I would ever do that. I would never walk back home. But not at that age. I probably would now, but not at that age. If I walked back home and my 15, 16-year-old self saw a clown out hiding behind some trees waving, even if it wasn't directly at me and it was at someone else, someone from my school, I'd be out still. I'd still run. He did the right thing. I'm glad that the story ended on like you never saw that clown again because that was disturbing. Don't fuck with
So
clowns.
this happened
That's
not
all I
long ago.
say.
I live on the outskirts of Philadelphia, where it's me, my son, and my stepdaughter. I say stepdaughter as I've taken my best friend's daughter in legally. Around 2016, my best friend Joanne was murdered by her husband. He ended up making national headlines and was convicted of
Damn, that
5 more murder cases.
damn, that went dark. I just watched something the other day about murder stuff. Yeah, I need to go back because I just missed a lot.
My best friend's daughter in legally. Around 2016, my best friend Joanne was murdered by her husband. He ended up making national headlines and was convicted of 5 more murder cases. He's facing 3 consecutive life sentences with no parole. Now I'm a middle school teacher at my son's school. He's the year below what I teach. My stepdaughter is the grade above what I teach, so their classrooms are not far off from mine. This
That's really
incident took
sad.
place
I
on
want to
March
find out
30th,
what this
2020,
murder
when
was.
the lockdowns were slowly taking
Just
place. Where I taught, the school was rather distant from anywhere. The next school was about 10 miles. The gas station was about 2 miles. And the nearest park was about 600 meters from where we were. So we were one of the last schools to go into lockdown. Around midday of March, it was a normal heated Monday. I was teaching math at that time for the sixth graders. All of a sudden, I get a notification on my phone that someone was here to pick up my stepdaughter. The system that works told me
Nah, it's the ex-husband. It's gonna be the husband that murdered his wife. Murdered your best friend. Hell nah.
number gets a notification if someone is picking up your child. The thing is, my stepdaughter was 3 classes down from me. She had no appointments, no close family that lived in a good radius from us. I replied that I'm here at school and no one in a 10-mile radius is picking her up. This was sending alarm bells off left and right. They said that the person picking her up was her biological dad. The school doesn't have that type of information on file. A few minutes go by on the phone and it's dead silent. The lady tells me she's going to call the principal and see what he wants to do from there. A gut feeling didn't sit right with me. I called my stepdaughter's classroom and asked for her to be sent to my room. Just as I hung up, I was back to teaching when my stepdaughter came into the classroom. Not even 10 minutes later, the lockdown siren went off. I had kids push desks to the door and barricade the windows, and everyone sat in the corner.
That's
I had a pretty
disturbing.
good feeling on who this lockdown was about. We were in a lockdown for about 46 minutes at this point. My main concern was how did he end up getting out? About 2 hours later, the lockdown was lifted, and I was escorted out by the police. I was further questioned on how I knew this man due to the CPS records. I said I took my best friend's daughter in and explained the whole story. The police informed me that how he had gotten out was a prison bus transporting inmates to another cell, but a car came swerving in and crashed into the prison bus, leaving 10 prisoners dead on the scene, 2 prison guards knocked out, and 20 escaped. There were police already at our house waiting for the dad to show up, but he never did. When they heard the lockdown at the school, they knew it was one of the prisoners. If they had never gotten there on time, I honestly have no idea what would have happened.
Yikes. That was disturbing. There's 5 of these stories. I said there's 3 of these stories. Wow. There's 5 disturbing stories. I was just gonna say, that was a quick story, but that's only the 5 disturbing true school lockdown stories. Okay. That one was about a 9.5 because you don't know what the father had murdered your best friend, your daughter's mother, stepdaughter's mother, and he busted out you don't know if he's a redeemed guy. You don't know what his intentions are. He could be like, oh, well, let's get my exact revenge. Let's kill my daughter too. You never know. People have sinister needs. That's for sure. Yeah, that was like a 9.5. Definitely. Definitely out of 10.
This happened during my freshman year of high school. I'm 21 now, and I still think about it all the time. I went to a public school in a pretty average suburban town. We did lockdown drills maybe once every couple months, so when this one started, that's exactly what I thought it was. Just a drill. It was a Wednesday, 4th period. I remember because it was earth science, and we had just finished a pop quiz. I was putting my stuff into my backpack when the loudspeaker came on and said, "This is a lockdown. Lock all doors, lights off, stay quiet." At first, nobody panicked. Our teacher, Mrs. Chen, sighed, got up, and locked the door like usual. She turned off the lights and told us all to get into the corner of the room, away from the door. Everyone was laughing a little and whispering like it was no big deal. But then we heard a second announcement. Same voice, but it sounded different, more rushed. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." That's when the room went silent. My teacher didn't say a word. She just motioned for everyone to stay down and keep quiet. I could tell even she was nervous now. She kept checking her phone, and we could hear faint, distant police sirens outside. A few minutes passed, then we heard something from the hallway. Footsteps. Slow ones, and not in a hurry like a cop or a teacher, just one person walking. They stopped right in front of our classroom. We were all staring at the door. Nobody breathed. Then came a knock. Not loud, just a soft, slow knock, 3 times. Nobody moved. Then the doorknob turned. They tried to open it, but it was locked, obviously, but they kept trying. Not aggressively.
That's kind of disturbing. So that guy that broke in, or that person that broke in, was pretend to be the principal and was trying to, you know, pretend like trying to get into the classrooms, using a voice disguise. Yeah, no. Nope. You better stay in that classroom, boy. Don't let your teacher. No, hell no.
Just turning the handle back and forth like they were checking. And then a male's voice on the other side said, "This is just a drill. You can open the door now." We all collectively looked at Mrs. Chen, and then she looked back at all of us, put her finger up to her lips, and shook her head no. The person on the other side of the door kept knocking and trying the doorknob, and eventually the knocks got more aggressive as the voice of the man on the other side kept saying hello. Our classroom was on the first floor in the science wing. I can't tell you how much I was shaking in my shoes. I know even if all the other kids didn't want to admit it, they were as well. Eventually, the knock stopped, and the man must have walked away. We heard nothing after that for a solid 5 minutes. Total silence, apart from the police sirens outside getting louder. It felt like forever. Then, someone down the hall screamed. It was a girl. Just one scream, and then nothing. A couple of people in my class started crying quietly. Honestly, it was the girls. Someone whispered that they saw a shadow move past the little glass window on the classroom door on several occasions. Each time anyone spoke, even quietly, Mrs. Chen gave a stern but quiet shh. Another 5 or 10 minutes passed. Then, finally, we heard the sound of police officers shouting from down the hallway, telling everyone to stay in place. They were going room to room, and when they finally knocked on our door and unlocked it with a key, Mrs. Chen didn't even move until they showed their badges. We were all escorted out in a line, past other classes doing the same thing.
That's
There were cop
scary.
cars everywhere outside, even a SWAT van. I didn't see anything too crazy, but I did see one officer leading a guy in cuffs out of the building. He looked about 30. Not a student. Pale, long hair, wearing dark clothes. Later that day, we found out that some criminal had slipped into the school through one of the side doors during a delivery. That side door was right by the end of the science wing. Apparently, he was mentally unstable and had something in his backpack, but I don't know if it was a weapon or not. They didn't tell us much. They just said nobody was hurt and everything was under control. But
Oh,
I swear, I'll never forget that knock at the door. The way he turned the handle, the scream down the hall. It didn't feel like everything was under control at all.
yeah, it was about 8.5. I think like him breaking into the house, like you don't know what he was capable of. 8.5, 9. Like could have ended worse. I could go a 9 because he did pretend to be the principal, so I could give it a 9. It's definitely not as scary as the third story with that guy that was pretending to be that wanted to get his stepdaughter. That was very disturbing. I'll give it like an 8.5. I think the first one's still like the weakest. I think that one's the second scariest. I think the clown is the third scary. This one and the clown one were very scary. What was the other one? There was another one, wasn't there? I can't remember. There's that one. There's the clown one. And then there's another one. Yeah, the with the daughter. Yeah, I'm forgetting the stories. Might have to go back and remember them.
I had just started school. I already had a lockdown to tell. I'm only 15 years old and just started as a sophomore at Northside High School in Jacksonville, North Carolina. That morning, I came to school early, around 6:55 a.m. I was one of the first people in my first period class, which was chorus. Our classroom is at the very end of the fine arts hallway, right next to the auditorium. I was sitting at my seat with my phone out, listening to music and just waiting for the bell to ring and start the day. After a few minutes, I heard my teacher say something, so I paused my music and took out my headphones. When I looked up, I saw my classmates heading into the closet at the back of the choir room. I was confused. We had just practiced a lockdown drill the day before, so I wasn't sure if this was another drill or something else. Still, I listened to what the teacher was saying and followed everyone else into the closet. The teacher shut the door behind us and turned off the lights. We were now sitting in complete darkness, with only a small amount of light coming in from under the door. At this point, I still didn't know what was happening, but then I heard police sirens outside. That's when I started to realize this wasn't a drill. It was real. I started to feel nervous, but I kept calm. I figured if I stayed as composed as I could, maybe I wouldn't panic as much. I sat in that closet quietly, trying to listen for any sounds coming from outside, but I didn't hear anything else. We stayed in that closet with the lights off until the lockdown ended around 8:45 a.m. That's nearly 2 hours. Once we were let out,
AM. Who the fuck goes to school? Did I miss something? AM? Who the fuck goes to school at 6 p.m.? Who goes to school that early? Wait, did I miss something? I feel like I missed something.
classroom is at the very end of the fine,
Hold on.
and I already had a lockdown to tell. I'm only 15 years old and just started as a sophomore at Northside High School in Jacksonville, North Carolina. That morning, I came to school early, around 6:55 a.m.
Why would you go to school at 6:55 a.m.? Like, unless it's like a boarding school or something. I don't know. I just think it's weird. Like, why did you go to school that late?
Quietly, trying to listen for any
Anyway, just very interesting.
sounds coming from outside, but I didn't hear anything else.
Comment down below.
We stayed in that
Comment
closet.
down below what do they mean by they went to school at whatever 6. What was it? 6:55. Comment down below. Do you know any schools that go to school that early? Just comment down below if you know or don't.
Lights off until the lockdown ended around 8:45 a.m.
Mhm.
That's nearly 2 hours. Once we were let out, I felt calm again because everyone around me had stayed calm too.
I thought
I
I
went
went
back
to
to my
work
seat in
too
the front of the
early.
room and put my music back on, just trying to get back to normal. Later on, I decided to ask my teacher what had happened. I said, "Were there any fights today?" The teacher looked at me seriously and said, "It's much worse." That's when I started to realize something serious had really gone down. I looked out the window and saw cars lined up in the back of the school. At first, I thought it was just regular pickup traffic, but it felt different. In the classroom, some students were trying to get information. Eventually, my friend Jacob told me that someone had been stabbed in the middle of the school, in the rotunda. I didn't know much more than that at the time, but shortly after, my mom texted me asking if I was okay. I told her I was safe and still in my choir class. Some girls in the class had started crying after the lockdown, and that made everything feel even more real. My mom called me next. She told me she had parked her car at the baseball field, along with a bunch of other worried parents trying to find their kids. Eventually, my name was called and I was allowed to leave the school. When I got to the field, I found my mom. She was clearly shaken up, and honestly, so was I. She drove me to the daycare where she worked, and once we got there, both of us went into a quiet room where we cried together. Her coworkers came in to try and comfort us, and I had to go outside to calm down even more. I put my headphones back in and listened to 3 Days Grace just to get my head right again.
3 days
Later on,
grace.
we
Okay.
found out exactly what happened.
Ooh.
2 students had been taken to the hospital. One of them died. A teacher had also been slashed by the attacker. In total, 3 people had been hurt that day. I started searching for more information and found the press conference about the incident already posted online. After watching it, my mom took me to Arby's to get something to eat. I hadn't eaten all day. We got our food, then we went to pick up my younger brother from his middle school. He told us he had noticed a lot of cops at the school, but didn't know what had happened. When we got home, I kept searching online for updates. That's when I saw that a 16-year-old had already been charged with voluntary manslaughter, assault with a deadly weapon, and a list of other serious charges. Two more students, one 15 and one 16, were also charged with assault and disorderly conduct. What made it even more disturbing was that someone had recorded the stabbing and posted the video on Snapchat. I didn't watch the video myself, but my mom told me about it. She said in the video, the person recording was running, so the phone was pointed at the ground, but you could clearly hear the screams of kids as the stabbing happened. My mom thinks the whole thing might have been gang related, and after I heard that, I was scared. Scared that someone might come back to retaliate. Another attack. More violence. It's hard to believe that someone actually died. I didn't even know the kid, but I've been
What
thinking
is
about
with
him ever
schools and
since.
their stupid
I hope he
lockdowns?
rests in peace.
I hope you rest in peace. That's a bit disturbing the way he said that. Who's in charge with lockdowns? I'm just saying, like, what the heck? Like, this school lockdown is shit. You just have random people showing up with knives and, like, pocket knives and shit like that. You just never know. And if it's gang related, you should do something better with your security. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, yeah, that was my reaction. Yeah, that was my reaction to 5 disturbing true school lockdown stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yeah, I don't think I gave that one a rating. That one was about probably a 9.5, 10. It was probably like a 10 because someone died. That one was definitely the scariest. But yeah, no. I had chills down my spine. Especially, okay, what was the first story again? There was a clown. I remember there was a clown. I had the student. There was a student, and he knew where you lived. That was disturbing. And that was like a 9. That was like an 8.5. And then the second one was the clown story. That was like a 9. That one was very disturbing. Then there was the daughter story, the one that was picking up the stepdaughter. That was like a 9.5. And then the one with the classroom and him like banging at the door. That was like an 8.5. And then the last story was like a 10 because people died. Yikes! That last story though, with those students getting that student getting killed, like, mm-mm. that that's really sad. Also, no, the one with the daughter was very sad too because I'll give that one just about a 10 too because the mum got murdered. Your best friend, like their mum, your like they got murdered by her husband. I want to say this. It hit headlines. Yeah, I want to say this. They're probably not going to show us, but it's always husband murdering wife or wife murdering husband. It's but yeah, probably need better security at this point. Security's ass. Yeah, these school lockdown stories always give me the chills. I'm still wearing my blanket, like hiding my Freddie Mercury shirt. But yeah, but that those stories were like terrifying, absolutely terrifying. The clown one, you don't know what that clown's intentions were. That clown, and the other kid knows where your parents live now. Like you might have moved out because you've gotten older, but he knows where your parents live. So, just saying. I did feel bad. What was his name? Luke. Yeah, I felt bad for Luke. Yeah. Mr. Nightmare, he always gives you the chills. Those jump scares, he did that jump scare. I like, ugh. He always gets. I don't even get jump scared. Very rarely gets jump scared, and Mr. Nightmare always does it perfectly. Because you never know. With the horror movie, they always have big music leading up to it. And if, like, there's no music leading up to it, they'd be like, and it stops the music, you'd be like, yeah, it'll still be a jump scare. Even though there's no music in it. They already did that music to tell you that it's a jump scare, so be prepared. But yeah, hell no. Schools are terrifying. Schools are absolutely terrifying. Like, I have the chills all down my spine just thinking about it. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my reaction to Mr. Nightmare. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notification, and click the bell beside you. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Bye!